We're officially less than 1 week away from the 2024 NBA Draft, and there's still quite a bit that needs to be discussed before the main event actually gets here. Fans of tanking teams get extra excited this time of year because they're looking forward to welcoming a fresh new face into their franchise, hopeful that they can help them take the next step and make the team better, but it's not always easy to tell what kind of player they are, where they excel, versus where they struggle, and then maybe compare them to players that we've already seen in the NBA before. Today we'll be going through each of the top prospects in this draft class, and we'll be making realistic player comparisons to them to other NBA players based on their style of play, overall skill and talent, and their floors and ceilings. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. We'll start off with the player many expect to be selected first overall, Alexandre Sarr, and the player he most realistically compares to, in my opinion, is Jaren Jackson Jr. Alex Sarr has intrigued scouts all year long because he has terrific size for a big man, his impressive defensive instincts were on display all season long in the NBL, and he's versatile enough to play both the power forward and the center position. He legitimately covers ground defending in space at a level that should translate immediately to the NBA game, and that type of skill is as useful as ever in the NBA. He's not quite the most polished scorer yet, but he has shown promising improvement as a perimeter shooter that could continue to improve over time, and after all of this, Jaren Jackson Jr. is another player that came into the NBA with very similar description. Jackson is now a Defensive Player of the Year winner, and a top-tier defensive versatility type of player, but offensively, he was also pretty raw with three-point shooting promise early on. Luckily for Sarr, he doesn't have the same issues with committing as many fouls as often as Jaren Jackson does, but overall they bring very similar impact to the game. The next top prospect up is Zachary Race, and the player that he compares closest to at the next level is Michael Porter Jr. Race has put together an outstanding campaign in the French League this year as a wing with ideal size and two-way skill set that wings need in the NBA to have. He may not be the kind of player that you can just give the ball to and rely on him to make something happen out of nothing, but the role he will play in the NBA, at least early on, will include a lot of spot-up opportunities as a knockdown shooter off the catch. He'll be running around off the ball, relocating off of screens for quick catch and shoot opportunities. He's a good cutter and finisher at the basket, and defensively, he moves his feet well and knows how to leverage his body. Michael Porter Jr. did a lot of these same things en route to Denver's title last year, as someone who thrives in catch and shoot situations without necessarily being a primary creator in their offense. The next top prospect up is Shepard, and the player he compares closest to at the next level is Derek White. Shepard is the kind of player that just goes out there and plays smart, efficient, winning basketball without trying to do too much with the ball in his hands, and he can be trusted to do a little bit of everything on both ends of the floor. He knows when to attack and knows when to defer, he gets to his spots when the opportunities present itself, and he converts at an incredibly high rate, shooting a ridiculous 54% from the field and 52% from three in college last season. The Celtics just won the title this year, and Derek White played a huge role in their triumph, doing a lot of what we just described with Shepard. He's incredibly efficient, he's the perfect secondary ball handler to have on a contender, and he competes hard on both ends of the floor. The next top prospect up is Donovan King, and the player he compares closest to at the next level is Walker Kessler. Kessler got selected to play for Team USA last summer after an incredibly promising rookie season, and a lot of what makes Kessler effective applies to King here. I will say that I think King has a much higher upside than Kessler overall, but in terms of play styles and where they are at with their games, a lot of similarities pop up. Kessler is a strong 7-footer with impressive footwork and uses his size well to protect the rim on defense. He knows where to be and how to make a strong contest on a shot, he grabs a ton of rebounds in his minutes, and offensively a lot of his work is done in the paint. King is all of that, but potentially better, as he's taller at 7'2" and even stronger, yet he still manages to impressively move his feet to stay in position and shut down any action at the rim. The next top prospect up is Modest Buellis, and the player he compares closest to at the next level is Franz Wagner. Buellis is looking like the kind of prospect who may come into the league as a bit of a raw player offensively, but he's shown flashes of a jack-of-all-trades type of wing that can play several different roles in a lineup. He brings defensive versatility, comfortably being able to defend multiple positions, and offensively, he's flashed some strong passing instincts and ball handling ability, good enough to be a secondary creator in a lineup there, but not necessarily as a primary initiator. He's also a very athletic player and moves well in space. He just needs to continue working on improving as a shooter. All of this sounds a lot like Franz Wagner, who is coming along nicely in Orlando as a secondary playmaking option that just averaged nearly 20 points per game this year, despite shooting the ball pretty poorly from 3 at 28%. The next top prospect up is Stefan Castle, and the player he compares closest to at the next level is Bruce Brown. This may not be the most exciting player comparison for a lottery pick, but finding a safe pick that could bring the impact that Bruce Brown did to Denver's title-winning side last season is not the worst outcome in the world. At UConn this year, Castle wasn't necessarily a go-to scoring option because he was surrounded by a bunch of talented upperclassmen, and he was a freshman. But he was consistently tasked with defending the opposing team's best player, and he brings it on that end every single night. Offensively, he's a good finisher inside, moving without the ball, but he also still needs to work on improving his perimeter shooting, which is also similar to Bruce Brown, who for his career has shot slightly below league average from deep. The next top prospect up is Dalton Knecht, and the player he compares closest to at the next level is Bogdan Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic is one of the best sixth men in the NBA right now, coming off of a year where he put up 17 points per game off the bench for the Hawks, and can come in and heat up in a heartbeat to change the flow of the game. He's shot at least above average from 3 in all 7 seasons he's been in the NBA so far, shooting 40% from deep or better in 3 of those seasons too. He's got a smooth pull-up game, and he also is a surprisingly good athlete. That is Dalton Knecht's game in a nutshell. He was one of the best volume scorers in all of college basketball this year. He's comfortably taking and making tough shots regularly, and he's a surprisingly great athlete too, with good size for a guard. And finally, the last top prospect we'll be going over today is Rob Dillingham, and the player he compares closest to at the next level is Lou Williams. Lou Williams is one of the greatest sixth men in NBA history, winning the league's Sixth Man of the Year award 3 times in his career. He may not have ever technically been a star player, but there were definitely times where he could produce like one. Lou Williams did his damage as a smaller guard who was incredibly shifty with a tight handle and a stop-and-go game that could shake defenders out of their shoes. All of that to a T describes what I believe Rob Dillingham will be at the next level. Dillingham's lack of size and strength may hold him back from ever becoming a top-tier star player, but I think he could absolutely dominate second units and ignite a team off the bench for a very long time. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think these players compare to at the next level. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.